Hello and good morning, everyone. Today happens to be, what is today? Tuesday, February 10th. We are doing the 92nd episode of this show. 92 days. Wow. I even can't believe it that I've been doing this for 92 days. A couple more days by next week, we'll be on show number 100. I think I have to have it like a big party for that. 92 days. But good morning, everyone. I have to admit, today I am really, really feeling it. So I know yesterday was a shorter show. Good morning, Angel. Welcome to the show. I know yesterday was a shorter show. Depending on how I feel, we might make this a shorter show too. But we're on Ruth, which is not really a big chapter, a big book at all. There's only 4 chapters. So I almost want to say we could probably get through Ruth today and then start Samuel tomorrow. It all depends on how in depth Ruth is. Oh, Ruth is your favorite book? All right, so maybe it'll be like some talking points with it. I have no idea what it's about, but I'm assuming it's about the character Ruth, which should be a good thing because I actually like to see how women are portrayed as opposed, not as opposed, but I mean, I feel like the Bible is heavily concentrated on the men, so it's nice to see a story about women as well. That's what I was saying. Not that I'm like men over women. I don't know. I'm like, you know what it is? I guess you can tell I'm out of it. So I called this topic this morning touch because something dawned on me yesterday. Yesterday I was really, really not feeling well. I'm not feeling well today. And I've been getting, every now and then I get flare up attacks, and like my doctor's looking into certain things like possibly lupus or some sort of autoimmune. And when I get these flare up attacks, the best way to describe it is I feel like my entire body is being microwaved. That's the only way I could describe it. I'm like, if you put me in a microwave and then there's just rays of microwave burning into my skin. That's how I feel. Good morning, Issues. Welcome to the show. So yesterday, well, actually, I should say it was all day yesterday, but yesterday I had one of those attacks again, and I'll feel better. It's just like I said, I have to constantly rub, and so I call this touch because so many things dawned on me at the same time yesterday. Because one of the things that happened was Chris got home extremely late. Now, bear in mind, he just came back from his whole trip with the on the plane and stuff like that, and immediately he has to jump into work and be on call for 4 days. So he got home extremely late yesterday, and you could tell he was exhausted. So of course I made dinner. I mean, dinner was already ready. It was ready for him. All I had to do was heat it back up. But we had dinner, and you could just tell how tired he is. At the same time, he's even looking at me, and he's like, he's like, "Are you okay?" And I says, "Chris," I says, "I know you do all the manual work." I says, "But today I'm really, really suffering." So we were watching some TV, and I just turned to him and I says, "Can we just go inside?" I'm like, "Would you like a massage?" And he's like, "Really?" I says, "Yeah." So obviously we're in bed, and I'm giving him a massage because he's really, really in pain. And believe it or not, that's one of my specialties because at one point in my life I went to massage school. Sadly, I never finished it, and there was reasons I never finished it. I chose a career over schooling at the time because I ended up getting a really good promotion. And aside from that, I was realizing the amount of I don't want to say aggressiveness, but the amount of bodily um I don't even know what the word I'm looking at. The amount of work, the manual work that is needed to constantly do massage after massage after massage. I knew my body wasn't capable of doing that. So I made the decision, sadly, to quit massage school. And to this day I regret that. I really do. But at the time, like I said, I chose my career over schooling, and but I miss it. But I still have some great techniques. I still, so that's why he loves when I give. But it dawned on me as I was massaging him, and it's like I can feel energetically how better he's getting. And even myself, I could feel how good I'm getting just by massaging his skin. And even with him, when you reach a certain muscle group, and you could just feel the tension just. And where this ties into touching is I realize as a society, we have turned so digital. We have turned to such a contactless society that people really do forget the power of touch. In fact, I almost want to say, I, I was just sitting there. I was having breakfast this morning, and truthfully, I couldn't even eat breakfast. I took a couple of bites of my breakfast. I stood there, and then I'm like, okay, guys, it was eggs and stuff. I gave it to the dogs. I'm like, here, they loved it. They had breakfast. I'm like, I can't even eat this morning. But there was an old commercial from AT&T, and it was reach out and touch someone. And the whole idea was reach out to touch someone, had nothing to do with physical touch. It was the idea that you can call somebody and you can reach out and get in touch with them. It should have been reach out and get in touch with somebody, but was reach out. So it made me think that even as a society, they were training people to separate, to divide, to no longer touch each other. Everyone knows if they see me in the store, they are getting a hug. So you're a hugger. Okay. So issues. There are there's two. I want to say there's two type of people. There are the people who are huggers. They're very touchy feely. When they see you, they'll hug. And then there are the people who are very like back away, like don't hug me. They'll get tense. They'll get anxious. They don't want people touching them. And it's very interesting when the two of them collide. It really is. And it makes you I mean, you have to like defend one side versus the other because that's another thing. We're also in a society where the littlest things can trigger people. So when you have somebody who's a touchy-feely person versus somebody who is like a standoff, don't touch me, it's too overstimulating and stuff like that. It's which side do you accommodate? I used to have this friend. Her thing was that she oops, sorry, that's Pikachu. Her thing was she had to poke people. And it was the most annoying thing. Like she would go up to people and like on their arm, poke, poke, poke. Like that was her thing. Like it was like the power of touch was in her fingertip and she would just poke. And it became so annoying. Now the only way to stop her, which I said this to my mom because we ended up having a when my mom came, we had like a party and stuff like that, which was really cool. And I invited my friends and stuff like that. So I warned her about my friend. I says, my friend is a poker. And she's like, what are you talking about? I says, she'll come over and just poke you. That's her thing. Like she's crazy. I says, the only way to stop her poking is to bite her. I says, you got to take her finger and bite her. And my mom was horrified. She's like, excuse me? I says, I'm telling you, if you want her to stop poking, bite her finger. And like, I want to say, like, for me, I normalize that. I think my problem is I normalize crazy. I do. I normalize crazy because I guess like people in my life have been so off the charts of craziness that I normalize it. So for me, that was like a normal thing to say to my mom that, okay, if you want her to stop poking you, you need to bite her. And my mom's like, I'm not biting her. So what ended up happening is, which is funny, we're, we're at the party and Taylor, lovely artwork. You know, so that I see that all the time. They come in, they do their artwork, and it's like, yeah, lovely. They don't have a choice once the hug starts coming in. But you know, something issues just to, and I'll get back to the poking story, but just to address that, you also have to consider how crazy a person can get just by the act that you're touching them. They will literally go into a internalized temper tantrum of be like, don't hug me. I don't want to be touched. Get away from me. And a lot of times they can't verbalize it. So you literally, and I mean, you may not realize this, you literally can be causing an anxiety attack just by you touching people. And I mean, I'm not saying anything against you or that. I'm like, that's how extreme the two sides are. And I've seen both sides, like I said, because I normalize crazy. But in the event with this girl, you have to bite her. So, of course, as the party is progressing, and I mean, we're having fun. We're watching movies, we're listening to music, we're playing stupid games. I mean, we were just, it was like, it literally was like a girl's day out, which it was a fun thing. So, as it's progressing, of course, she's going up to poke, poke, poke. And my mom's like, would you stop doing that? So, I actually had to go over there and bite her, like just bite her finger. And I'm like, stop poking her, which she ended up stopping. And my mom's like, are you serious? I says, I warned you, it's her thing. I'm like, if you want her to stop, I says, I don't know if it's an attention seeker thing. I don't know if it's a like a mental thing where in order to stop an action you have to do that. I don't know. I says that's her thing. You bite her finger, she'll stop poking, which that's exactly what happened. Bite her finger, she stops poking. Anyway, let me get back to the whole idea of touching. Um, I was massaging Chris, and the whole idea of touching is so. I said to him, I says, you realize with me touching you, it's like charging a battery. I says, I just feel so much better, even if I just put my hands like on your arm, on your hand, just holding, like that little act. It just creates. I want to say it like creates an energetic bond, for lack of better terms. And I was watching The Chosen. Very good. I finally got up to that daughter scene. So weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I ended up seeing that scene where the woman goes and touches his garb, and he turns to him, and she's healed, and he calls her daughter. So I finally got up to that scene in The Chosen, which of course I had to cry. Like I just cried my eyes out. Like it was so beautiful. But even with that, she had so much faith in believing in Jesus that just touching his garb, not even touching him, just to touch the strings on his garb, she was able to be healed because of her faith. And she even said to him, she says, it was because I touched, and he's like, no, your faith is what allowed you to get healed. It had nothing to do with my clothes. It's G string. Oh my god. No, his strings on his garbs. It's G string. You know something? I will say this in some circles that could definitely be a form of healing. I mean, after all, you look at like Chippendales and you look at one of those traveling stripper shows. Yeah, I guess that could be a healing thing. But it made me think about, in weird ways, about revivals. Because even like I said, I was an 80s, 90s revival kid. Going to these revivals, it was always the preacher laying his hands on people. And a lot of times they would lay in the spirit, they would shake, they would scream, they would cry, they would, in some cases, be healed. Whether you believe it or not, that's questionable. Whether it was more emotionalism or temporary, questionable. I mean, we really, really don't know. Because even in the moment, you can be filled with so much adrenaline that can give you that spike in power to walk, to do this, to do that. And sometimes I question, as an observer, is that a temporary thing or does it become a permanent thing? And with miracles, we see it that it becomes a permanent thing. I often wonder, though, modern day, because that's a real question, and it is a question. Does God, Jesus, use people as vessels to create healing? He did. I don't know how true it is to the story, but according to the chosen, he sent his disciples out with the power to heal. They had to go two by two to the different cities, and they would lay hands on people. They would cast out demons. They would perform miracles. Like I said, I'm not too sure how true that is to this, because I don't remember necessarily people performing miracles. I remember John the Baptist, but even in the chosen, John the Baptist at this point is already in prison, and he's soon to die. They're going to chop off his head. At least I'm assuming, because I know he's going to die, but that hasn't happened yet in the series. So it makes me wonder: does God use vessels within humans to actually create miracles and touch? And it's like, I want to have faith, because yes, in my head, miracles absolutely do happen. I see miracles all the time that happens. But when it comes to, like I said, these pastors, these preachers, these televangelists, these megachurch people, are they true miracles? Or is it just a form of showmanship to try to deceive people, to try to get people to give money, to try to get people into the congregation? Because, like I said, I've been to mega churches. I've also been to the tiny churches that practically have no one. And I almost want to say that the smaller churches are the ones that are touched by God compared to the bigger churches. And that's the irony, I guess. I really believe that. And maybe other people disagree with that. I mean, I almost want to throw that to the floor. I mean, do you really believe that these mega churches, these pastors, are seriously divinely touched by God, and that's why their churches are so massive? Or is it more nefarious purposes? Like, maybe they're not touched by God, maybe they're touched by a demon, maybe they're touched by a negative entity or a false god. Hello, Dario, sorry. Hi, Dario. God bless you and your family as well. Thank you. Oh, see, I love questions. I shouldn't say I love, because if I say I love questions like this, Jeremy, seriously, is that an appropriate question to even bother asking? It's like, you come in, you could say hello, you could say something positive, but no, you say that. You know something? The Bible says anything and everything you want to say. No, I'm going to answer it. The one thing that's beautiful, or and also a curse about the Bible, that no matter what your agenda is, no matter what your ideology, your point of view, if you only want to say and see negativity in the Bible, then you are going to be blinded, and that's all you're ever going to see. So, yes, you're absolutely right. There is that sort of rampage. I can't actually say that, but there is that rampage. In fact, I tease that almost every other page in the Old Testament is a murderous rampage. I tease. I absolutely say that. And there's also other things in the Bible too. For all the negative things that you could point in the Bible, you could also point out all the miracles and the wonderful things. So, let me ask you this: just because the Bible says those things, is that what you want to do? Do you want to erase history and pretend that atrocities don't happen? So this way, all the Bible is nothing more than flowery language of love and positivity? Or do you actually want to show how society does have a wicked side along with a positive side, so that you can truly appreciate, understand, and be thankful and grateful as to why Jesus came into our life and why God does the wonderful things that he does? And I ask you that. You say to me, you say that there's no need for me to explain. I think it's absolutely necessary for me to explain, because, oh, there we go. To be honest, that was the best answer I ever heard. I respect that. And thank you so much. I mean, Jeremy, you have to understand something from my point of view. People come in all the time, and that's exactly what they point out. They point out the negativity of the Bible. I should just respect your beliefs. I'm sorry. I just have a problem with the fact that God so many babies. And you know something? I will be honest too. That is one of the first things I said when I read this. Because one of the, and it's not turning away. One of the things I always questioned about this is I've always seen God to be love, forgiving, accepting. Why is it that the Lord is represented so much as a killing murderous rampage? And you know something? I have theories about that. People don't like my theories about that, but I do throw it to the floor as a question. And it's something that people really should examine as a possibility. Not that it is the answer, because, like I said, everybody's been taught the Trinity: Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, monotheistic. It makes me wonder if the Bible truly is not monotheistic, that it's poly, and the Lord is one of the very false gods that he's pretending not to be. And when I say that, it causes controversy. People do not like that. But hey, baby, I'm starting to see now, as we're progressing, how the Lord is finally changing his beliefs. He's finally changing his mentality. Because the first couple of, definitely in the book of Moses with the Torah, definitely a murderous rampage. But now that we're progressing, I'm starting to see the fact that he's becoming more tolerable. Yeah, that's my little kitty. That's Treasure. She has to be part of the show. I have three cats, so you'll probably see all three of them. But he is becoming more tolerable. He is allowing people to have the freedom of choice without consequence, which I always question whether, I mean, somebody pointed out it's still free will. Even it should have nothing to do with the consequences. And I felt if your consequences is only death, then how is that free will? Well, you can choose death, but that's the end all. If God is all good, why couldn't he create or make the world where there is no suffering needed? I'm going to answer that, Sandad, because that's a very good question, because I asked that question myself. If you were given everything you needed, and you were given everlasting bliss, and you were given no suffering, no nothing, would you really, really appreciate what it is you're giving? Would you really understand that emotion? And truthfully, society has already proven and has already shown that they don't. They can't. I'm probably the first person who will probably say that, but in order to truly love, appreciate, and value something is to experience the complete opposite of it. And I can say this so many times. I thought there were times that I was in love, but yet me being in love was an abusive, narcissist, detrimental relationship. But I called that love. I did. I called that love. Until I finally met somebody who respects me, who treats me as an equal, who is good for me, who cares about me, who puts me sometimes above himself. And it made me wonder, it like opened my eyes to a new world, saying, wait a minute, there are people like that that actually exist. There's, and that's just a small example. That's just a small example. And think about that on every single level. I mean, okay, I'm going to compare rich and poor people for a minute, which I probably shouldn't compare. But when somebody is completely rich and they never have to worry about money, they never have to worry about bills, they never have to worry about how much, they could just shell out their money. They don't understand the concept of struggling, because if you even notice how even Congress at times, when they talk about society, Well, the first thing they always say is, well, you could start saving money. Okay, how do you start saving money? Well, you could start cutting down. How much are you going to cut down on things? It's like, how much are you going to deprive yourself? You need basic things to live. If rent is literally, or rent or mortgage, depending upon what it is, if rent or mortgage is 75% of your paycheck alone, and then you have insurance and food and health benefits and this and that, and you go on and on and on and on, and by the end of the month, you're always at a negative, where are you going to save? Where are you going to skimp? Like, rich don't necessarily have, and I'm not saying, of course they have bills, of course they have taxes, of course they have this and that, but at the end of the day, they still have more than enough money to cover. So if they want to do something fun, if they want to do this, if they want, they can. So it's like they don't understand, and I think society doesn't understand the opposite of things in order to appreciate what they have. um Hello, Jesus is the answer. Welcome to the show. Thank you. I appreciate that. But there are sufferings such as babies with cancers and animals dying. And I'm going to ask this, and this is an interesting thing. Would that and this is something I always thought, would that necessarily be a creation of God, or is that a creation of evil? Would something like cancer and death be something that God wants? Or was it, if we go back to free will, that God truly gave free will to everything and anything, and it is powerful entities and beings who are negative are the ones that are causing that? It's something to think about. Is that a Koran? No, this is a King James Bible I'm reading. 1977 version I'm reading. I think the cause and effect of our environment from our free will. It might be, but I do believe that we are influenced way too much on free will. I mean, that's where I was getting about the free will. In the Old Testament, and right now, bear in mind, this is the first time I'm reading the Bible. So in the Old Testament, the free will option was you either follow me or instant death. And I questioned, is that free will? Now people will say, yes, you have a choice. It's one or the other. But I says, but if it was truly free will, then it would be, if you follow me or if you don't follow me, the consequences should not be on me. The consequences will be on you. So it's not up to me to, and people are like, well, it's still a choice. You have one or the other. Um, you're saying cause and effect of our environment from our free will, right? I see. I don't know, because I think free will has been highly manipulated in the Bible. Jesus isn't God, he's just a prophet. If you believe that, that's fine, Snack. I mean, that's up to you. I don't judge. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say don't judge. Everybody judges, even if they say they know. I don't hold against anybody who has certain beliefs. If you truly believe that, then that's great for you. If you're just saying that because you want to get a rise and you want to interrupt the show, because I think one of the most weirdest things is how a lot of people who are non-believers and a lot of people who are atheists will specifically use examples of Jesus and God and the devil to prove their point when they neither believe in any of it. So I often say, why use something to prove a point of negativity if you don't even believe the very thing you're trying to prove a point? But yes, if you believe that Jesus isn't God and he's just a prophet, then there's nothing wrong with that. That's an illogical point about Jesus. If he's a prophet, why does he claim divinity? And I think if we're going back to snacks, because I don't know any type of religion or anything, I would assume it's because of the Quran. Somebody asks about the Quran. In the Muslim faith, they believe that Jesus is a prophet, simply as that. If God is all powerful and all good, can't he defeat or defend animals, babies from the devil? Probably. He probably could. But once again, if he was able to fix everything and do everything, would we necessarily appreciate it, know about it, or learn from it? And I mean, that's where the spectrum goes. If everything is perfect, would we necessarily understand what it doesn't mean to be perfect. The problem is, if he was a good prophet, the problem, if he was a good prophet of God, why did he say he was God? Heidi says, God is God. God is good. Nicole, who? Oh, I don't know. God is great. Thank you, Heidi. Why are. What? All right, I don't know what you're talking about. If you said Jesus was a prophet of Allah, you need to claim he never claimed to be God. Are you vegan? What does veganism have anything? Okay, so now we're just getting ridiculous conversations, which is fine. And like I said, when it comes to my show, I give everybody an open forum. We usually talk about an hour or so. I give everybody the floor to talk. People choose how they wish to talk. They can talk negative. They can talk where they just want to create insults or chaos. They can actually have a legitimate conversation. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome to the show. I hope you're doing well. Obviously, like I said, people love to come in and try to disrupt simply because I have a religious based show. And we can see it now. You could just see the disruptions right now. And some of these points are very good. They really are. It goes against the Quran because Jesus said he was in the Bible, which the Quran tells us to trust. Okay. All right. So, I mean, honestly, Rudy, I don't know where your stance is. It really doesn't matter where your stance is. I don't know if you stand for the Quran. I don't know if you stand for the Bible, but all I have to say is okay. I'm interested on your views on free will. I feel a little not on purpose narrow minded on the subject. And like I said, Monster Mia, great questions. There's layers. I want to see your point. Okay, so my view of point of free will, and I was talking about this, is in the sense of the Lord. If he really gave free will, my point of view would have been that you can follow me or you cannot follow me. I'm not going to give you a direct consequence. So I'm not going to kill you simply because you walked away. That to me would be free will. However, that person, by either accepting or walking away, will encounter consequences on their own, but it won't be in instantaneous consequences of the Lord. So for me, that's free will. In the beginning of the Torah and of the whole journey of Moses, that's what the Lord did. If you didn't follow him, instant death, instant mass stabby stabby. I mean, it was, he killed them instantly. But it wasn't until we get to Judges 10:14 and Judges 11:31, which I have to say for me was the light bulb moment. Because for the first time, the Lord is saying, it doesn't matter if you worship somebody else, go to them. That's the first time. He didn't strike them down. He didn't cause a plague. He didn't burn them completely like he did this whole other time. For the first time, he says, fine, you want to go serve them? Go to your lords, but at the time of tribulation, which I find that fascinating that that was the first mention of tribulation. So it's a prophecy that we know something is going to happen in the future. There's going to be a tribulation, and their free will choice will have the consequences much later on, but the consequences are not instantaneous. So that's my point of view when it comes to free will, is that if you're truly given a choice, that the person who gives you the choice should not be the one doling out the immediate consequences. That the person who gives you a choice should let you have your choice, and your actions will then start the ball rolling on consequences. So yeah, it's multi-layer. You can look at it, but that's my point of free will. So the God isn't all good because he doesn't stop the suffering of it. I mean, okay, Sandbag, you're so caught on suffering of animals and cancer in a child. You've mentioned that multiple times today. And okay, so yes, those are two things you've mentioned that are negative. Now, why don't you look at all the positive things as well? And then that will answer your question. Corin, trust the Bible. Bible, Jesus is God. Islam, Jesus is not God. It's illogical. Okay, Rudy, you and RJ and 21 will get along really, really well. So being you're in being you're in the show, because yes, they all talk about logic. So definitely, if you see RJ or if you see RG, I'm sorry, if you see RG or 21 pop up, that's right up your alley. I'll tell you that right now. If they decide to come in, that discredits the Quran. Like Saint Thomas Aquinas has explained it so well. Check out the Summas Theological. Aliyah, I don't deserve love. Why would you say that? That's an interesting question. I don't deserve love. I would say you deserve everything. You deserve all positive. We all deserve everything. Why would you say you don't deserve love? Rudy says it's why I'm a Christian. Okay, so I'm going to assume you're on the side of, so why, Rudy, which is a very important question. If you're a Christian, why are you so heavily defending the Quran then? All right. I'd rather you learn it from Aquinas than from me to be TBF. Okay. All right. Monster Mia says, I think God's a light, which is, something. I mean, that was one of the first things that God said, let there be light. Which, here's the interesting thing. If you want to just think about something, God said, let there be light. But it wasn't until the fourth day that he created the sun and the moon. So think about that. What was the light? Where was the light? What was the very thing that was light? So you can look at that. So if God says, let there be light, but God is light, that means did he just create a different, but it's something to think about. All right. So, like a flashlight, and the world is suffering like a dark room. So, when he's not in the room, the lack of light is darkness. Mia, I gotta send some love. Melanie Lightbeam. That's my name, Melanie. For me, a little light in a world of darkness. That's beautiful. I love that. I've not defended it. Oh, you're explaining the contradictions. Okay, so I mean, I almost want to say, Rudy, and please forgive me. It's great that you're defending the contradictions. I almost wanted to say why though. Like we didn't really bring. Well, maybe it did turn to that, but like it says, like I almost want to say it's like you brought up a debate that really wasn't a debate to begin with. So the same way that the absence of God is evil. Please pray, Mr. Green. You're still having stomach issues. Yes, Mr. Green comes in. He has abdominal stomach issues. We haven't said our morning prayer yet, so we'll definitely extend a prayer about that. But if anybody is a prayer warrior, definitely put Mr. Green in with your prayers. There was someone who said that oh, okay, Jesus was a prophet. I thought you said that. I might have missed it. All right, it might have been somebody else. I really thought you said that. Then I'm like, weren't you the one that brought that up? Anyway. Anyway, so we addressed. I know I'm all over the place. You guys have to forgive me sometimes. I have ADHD, and like today is just one of those days that I'm just not feeling too well. So I know we spoke about the idea of touch, and it ties into this as well. So we spoke about touch. We spoke a little bit about free will. We spoke about the Quran and Jesus being a prophet. I'm just trying to think to tie everything in. This is my first time passing by your stream. I'm really enjoying myself. Oh, thank you. I'm actually on every day from about 10 a.m. Central to about 2 p.m. Central, depending upon how I feel. Yesterday, I ended the stream at 12. Today, I don't know how long I'm going to last because, like I said, I'm suffering a little bit today. But how I do this, and I'll just inform you, I usually have a generalized topic, and today the topic is touching, and I just open the floor to however the discussion goes. Sometimes it derails into a mess, and other times it really, really is a powerful thing. And then from there, we say a prayer, and then I go into reading. And today, we're happening to read Book of Ruth, and it happens to be the very first time I'm reading the Bible. So I don't know what's going to happen, but when it comes to me reading, I not negatively, but I heavily do criticism with it to find out what they're trying to teach. And I'll often go, okay, could mean this, it could mean this, it could mean this. And I like bring it to the floor as to what is the message that it's trying to say, as well as do a comparison, because apparently, depending upon which Bible you have, says a whole different thing in lots of cases. I know God heals, been healed a ton of times by God, but why isn't it immediate? Good question. Well, you know something? Okay, I'm gonna call you MX because I don't even know how to say your name. MX, good point. And that was one of the things I was referring to earlier when I was talking about when he uses a preacher as a vessel to heal. Because my question was, is it necessarily a healing? Is it a showmanship? Is it an adrenaline spike where that person instantly, due to endorphin rush and adrenaline, feels that surge of energy, but then as soon as they get home and the endorphin rush wears off, they're going to be right back to where they were. And the question is, I don't know. I really don't know. So when you said you've been healed a ton of times, but why isn't it immediate? I mean, on a cruel way, I could say, well, is it because either a lesson or something wasn't learned? I could say it in a cruel way because maybe it wasn't a healing, or I could say it in a positive way. You were healed. Take that as a gift. And while you may not be completely healed to perfection, you were temporarily healed of what your ailment was, which makes you appreciate it, which makes you love it, which makes you desire to keep going. So you can look at it in different ways. You really can. I've never read the entire Bible, but would like to. It's a little discouraging. And with my mental health and anxiety, I do fear the weight of spiritually and emotionally. And Monster Mia, I totally understand. And I will say this, it's the first time reading it. I'm personally horrified, absolutely horrified by the stuff that is in this book. They never talked about this stuff in church. Absolutely never talked. I mean, I went to church for years, and there are stories in here that, wow. In fact, yesterday I had to crack up laughing because we had a story that was literally a replay of the story of Lot with Sodom and Gomorrah. Because with the story of Lot, and I'm going to repeat this because I usually do a little summary, but with the story of Lot, Lot had the angels in his house. And what ends up happening is the men of the city come knocking on the door because they want to, quote, know the angels. Now, it turns out, what do they want to do with the angels? They want to essay them. They want to use it in a wicked way. Now, obviously, that never happened. The angels intervened. The men went their way, and the angels told Lot to leave this area, don't look back, and they destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Unfortunately, his wife turned around, witnessed it, and she turned to a pillar of salt. Okay. We had a repeat of that story here. The only thing is, in this case, it didn't go the way Lot did. In this case, the men come knocking on the door, knock, 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 and the guy offers his daughter and concubine. And what do they end up doing? They end up essaying the daughter and the concubine. And I'm reading this and I'm like, wow, this is the exact same story of what just happened. The only thing is, the difference is the first time the angels interfered and destroyed the city. This time, no, it went exactly what happened. He offered the daughter and the concubine, and they were taken advantage of. So that, I know that's a horrible story. We just read that yesterday, but it's like, I can't believe the stuff that's in here. But along with the stuff that's horrible, the spectrum is to see the stuff that's absolutely beautiful. And people will harp on how bad the things that are in there while just ignoring the miracles, the passion, the dedication, the obedience, all these positive things in the name of faith and the name of belief. So I do warn you, as far as mental health and anxiety, I'm experience it. This is such an eye opener. The more and more I read, it really is. I know that feeling's not of God, so I do need to get over that hurdle. And yeah, I mean, and you know something, you do it at your own pace, Mia. You really do. You can't anybody. I mean, people can't tell you how fast you need to go, what you need to do. I almost want to say, oh, and somebody's going to be like, they keep telling me to start with the New Testament. And the more I'm reading the Old Testament, the more I'm thinking they're probably absolutely right that people should start with the New Testament. Is that bad? Because even in church, as a Christian, like when I was in a Christian church, even then, it was always the focus was on New Testament, New Testament, New Testament. And I'm laughing now in retrospect as I read this, and I'm thinking maybe that's why it's so ingrained in people to say, you know, something started the New Testament, then you could go back and read it. But I'm reading the whole thing, and like I said, I'm going on and on. So nothing about this story is beautiful. Okay, so Padre, if that's what you see, that's what you see. I can't change it. You could say it's a horrible book. I almost want to say, okay, did you read it? If the answer is that you read it and you deemed it to be horrible, I can't change your opinion. Me, I deem it to be a story that shows the spectrum of everything. It literally is showing the spectrum of all human acts and emotions and storylines. With all these parables, with all these little side stories, with all these symbolisms and metaphors, it really does have you think. And that's why I think it's a beautiful book. But you could take it as a horrible book. I'm not going to change your point of view. All right, so I'm going to start off with a prayer. This is a good time to pray. I like to say a prayer, and then we're going to jump into the book of Ruth, which Angel says, was it Angel? Yeah, or Issues. Angel. Angel says this is one of her favorite books. So that's almost like exciting to me. So, okay, if this is one of the favorite books, let's focus on it and find out why. Like, what is good? I'm hoping because it's the book of Ruth, I'm assuming it's going to be a story from a female perspective, or it's going to be a story of female. I'm hope it's going to be an uplifting story and not necessarily a tragic story. But you know something, we'll find out. But let's start off with a prayer. And like I said, when I do my prayers, if you don't pray to God, that is on you. You could pray to whoever you wish. It's an open time. And even if you don't believe, then just take time to reflect within yourself and think about what your personal motivation, desire, and where your heart leads to make you happy. Because I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to people who believe is where they finally find peace, joy, and comfort from in their beliefs. So I'm going to start off with a prayer. So, dear Heavenly Father, I am so thankful and grateful for everything that you have done, that you have given me a chance to live another day, another life, and to explore all the glory that you give around. Today, I ask for wisdom. I ask for you for understanding, and I ask that you protect this chat with your love and grace, that you allow us to converse in a healthy, spiritual manner, that we can explore our differences. I pray that if there's anybody out there who needs a prayer, who needs an answer, who needs some guidance, that you please shed your love and your light all through them. I pray for anybody who has a prayer request, such as Mr. Green, or anybody out there who really needs some help, that you please listen and shine your grace on them. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. um, Aw, Mia says, thank you for being a supportive, positive person and not turning anybody away. I try not to. I have a rule that I don't ban people. I do have a rule, if it does get inappropriate, I will mute them. And lots of times these very people that I mute end up coming back, and then within a couple of shows, they actually turn out to be really good um, talking and discussion points. And then, of course, you just have people who just come and spew hate. I can't help that. This is an open thing. Anybody could talk. Anybody can answer a question. Sometimes the questions are just ridiculous that you can tell it's just a question to disrupt everything. But other times, even if it is a negative question, they bring up a good point. I'm like, okay, let's look at it. Let's dissect it. Let's talk about it. Now, like I said, today I am not necessarily in the best of moods. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm very tired. I'm in a lot of pain. Usually, I'm like, I'm like, I am like usually, and I think as the show goes on, I do end up getting like energetic and recharged. But all right, so Patrick says Muhammad loves you. You know something? That's beautiful. Muhammad loves me. That's great. Other people love me too. Jesus loves me. God loves me. Anybody could love me. If Muhammad is sending his love, that's absolutely wonderful. Why did you block me when I asked a question then? Okay, Dapper, and perfect example. It could have been because your question was rude, disrespectful, or out of place. And that's what's going to happen. If a question is rude, disrespectful, or out of place, or if it goes against the terms of use, you will get blocked. If somebody is repeating themselves over and over again, they will be blocked. And there are certain times that my toleration, and I'll be honest, yesterday I was not feeling good. Today, I'm still not feeling good. So, but you know something? For me, this show it really does make my day. Even if I have a bad experience in the show, overall, it's like filling me up with knowledge, with love, with questions. The more I read, the more questions I have. So if you were blocked yesterday, it probably meant you said or did something that was inappropriate. But you know something? Welcome back. Yeah, I blocked you after a question. I'm lying. Okay, so it is subjective. This is my show. Why not say then before blocking me? I don't have to tell you anything. I really don't. I don't even have to give you the time of day today, but I am. Am I supposed to? I'm absolutely not supposed to instruct you on the word. What I'm supposed to be doing is exactly what I'm doing. I come here. This is my show. I'm reading the Bible. If anything, you guys are instructing me because this is the first time I'm reading. My only issue with faith, broadly speaking, is when people use their experience to make capital T truth claims. You know something, Summer? That is a very, very good point. And here's my take on it. And this is something that's hard for people who this is hard for people to accept. And I'm going to answer this from my perspective. When somebody is struggling, when they need a change, when they need something in their life, and they see somebody who is happy, who is embracing their faith, who is doing well. From the person who's suffering, there is going to be a disconnect. At the same time, that person who achieved their happiness, who achieved their experience, for them, it is truth. It is, I did this. If I did this, you can do this too. It's easy. But the problem is for the person who didn't achieve it, it's not easy. They don't see their potential, they don't see the possibilities. Their eyes are so blinded and they can't get out of their hole. It's not until something in their mind and heart clicks that they could finally make the change necessary to do that. So, from both perspectives, from the one perspective is yes, you can make this happen. Just believe, just have faith. You can do this. Versus the other side, how can you be so positive in this and that? I'm struggling. I can't. There's no way for me to get out of this hole. I am suffering. So, from those two perspectives, it does become a truth. And for me, perception is always reality, which becomes that own person's personal truth. And the thing is, perception doesn't necessarily equal reality for all. It just equals reality for that person. So that's my take on that. Why does the oh see, Patrick, why does the Bible allow slavery to be regulated? Interesting enough, I've mentioned this many times. I often wonder if that was man who put that into the Bible or if that's really the words of God. But I leave that up to you to decide. You have no knowledge of what you're talking about. Okay, see, I think that is why I muted you, and I'm going to mute you again, Dapper, because you crossed the line. That right there is just rude. So there you go. There's your answer. Why did I mute you? That's exactly the reason why I muted. All right. Hello, Felice. I guess that's Felice or whatever. Oh no, I see what your name is. It looks like Felice, but whatever. Sorry, my phone glitched out during prayer, so I had to restart the app. That's all right. Welcome back to the show. All right, revelation. As a teacher, you need to guide someone towards internal revelation, which I often do. I really do. And once again, I don't consider myself a teacher at all. I mean, I think it's amazing people say that I have an innate um, ability to really teach. From my perspective, I'm not teaching. I'm just literally, this is my documentation of my personal growth and journey. I'm reading the Bible for the first time. It's 92 days right now, and even I see a beautiful spiritual growth and everything, my mind, my body, my spirit, my skin, my weight. It's all starting to come down. So for me, it's a wonderful journey. So I just believe that we're not well perfect. And you know something? We're not. I mean, I don't think any of us is perfect. And I would almost say for me, I used to always try to achieve perfection. But by trying to, let me try talking that again. I've always tried to achieve perfection in my life. But I realize that that is a goal that's never achievable. I know I can't be perfect. I try to achieve it, but what ends up happening is the disappointment in never achieving something that is impossible to achieve. And that just created more depression and negativity in my life. So that's why I started creating like little goals for myself so that I can be proud of little things that I can accomplish as I try to constantly change and get better and improve myself. So I'm very wise. I don't know what that word is. I gotta write that down. Usually, when somebody says a word and I don't know what it is, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna learn it, and I'm gonna see what that means. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know what that means. But you know something? I'm gonna look it up because I really don't know what that means. Hey, not everybody has a huge vocabulary, so okay. Let's see what that means. Heuristic. A method, procedure involving or enable discovering problem solving methods such. Oh, perfect. Okay, yes, then that does make sense somewhere. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely use scientific method even for the Bible. I'll bring in math and science and I just bring everything and I really do overanalyze the Bible. And you'll see that. As a risk of sounding obtuse, I believe God is as real as the sensation of color. Interesting. Hold on. I'm going to say something which you've actually created a slight flaw in your topic. Hold on one second. I'm going to give you a word, but I can't think of it off my head. Um, okay. I knew it was a word, but I couldn't think of the word. Look up a word. It's called synesthesias. Synesthesis. Synesthesia. Synesthesia. Because you said, at the risk of sounding obtuse, I believe God is as real as the sensation of colors. Now, for the normal person, people cannot sense colors. For the people who are afflicted with the synesthesia, they can sense colors. And you would probably say, well, that's impossible. I used to think that's impossible, but for someone like me, I last year completely lost the sense of taste and smell. Although now barely. I'm starting to get the taste I'm starting to get the sense of taste back. Um, but yeah, I lost completely my sense of taste and smell. What heightened with me was my sense of touch. And what became really weird is, and I try to describe this to people and they don't understand, is while there's no taste buds or scent buds in my hands, for whatever reason, touching certain things or being exposed to certain things will trigger my memories of what it means to smell and taste. So, for example, if I'm holding an apple, obviously, holding the apple, I'm not tasting anything. But by holding an apple, my salivary glands, my taste buds, my memory awakens in sensing what it is that I'm holding. And there are people with synesthesia that could sense colors. So if they are holding a certain color, there are people even with sounds. They can see colors of different sounds. So you may believe this or not, but when you say I believe as God is as real as a sensation of color, interesting enough, then you're actually proving that God is real because people can sense colors. Especially, you don't have to be Christian to know what the intention behind someone's question is. JQ says, I'll just block myself. I need to tell you something. Susie, feel free. There's 12 responses. I will get to everybody. Hopefully, I didn't miss anything. Praise Jesus Christ. Thank you so much. Welcome to the club. Oh my God, I do the same. I love to learn new things when I can. Exactly. If I don't know a word, I write it down and I'll be like, oh, what does that mean? Sometimes I regret looking it up because they say a word. I'll be like, that's why I wasn't too sure if that was a good word or a bad word. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Like the scientific method, analyzing, criticizing. Yeah, very shocking. Put it in the chat. We'll look at it. I like to expand my vocab when I can. Some people just want to trigger someone who doesn't have the same beliefs. I've been there. Jesus, amen. Christian nationalism uses the Bible to justify their hate. And okay, JQ, great point, but it's not just Christian nationalism. Don't atheists use the Bible to justify their hate against God? Doesn't Muslims use the Bible to justify that Jesus is not the Son of God, is simply a prophet? Doesn't other area doesn't scientists use the Bible to justify that science is so? That's like a pointless statement. And I will say this, and I say this again: any person, any ideology, any group, anyone can use the Bible and point out something. And that's why I think the Bible is such a fascinating book, is that no matter what your agenda is, you can literally find something in here that will either support or refute whatever your statement is. That's your experience, and we're sorry that you had to experience. But I believe it's not really the Bible, but the person themselves. Your favorite color is white, and you hate black. My favorite color is not white, and I don't hate black. So I don't know why you would say that. In a way, we need to define what real is. And like I said, for me, perception is reality. And because we perceive things differently, it becomes our own reality, but it doesn't make everybody else's reality the same. And perfect example, which I go back to this all the time, the dress. Is it white or gold, or is it black and blue? Perfect example. I find people often conflate real with truthful and meaningful. True, I agree with you. All religions are not perfect. People made it look like their religion is bad because of their actions. Some cultures and religious actually only has one word or one word for all of these, like Hinduism. Some cultures and religious actually has one word. Okay, has one word for all of these, like Hinduism. Go for a walk today, please. I'm a clinical psychologist and I study your rhetoric. Okay, drink some water. Now, when I ask their religion, they blame the religion instead of the person's answer. when they ask their religion, they blame the religion instead of the person's interest. Interesting. That is an interesting point, Jesus, is the answer. I just want you to know I'm qualified. Okay, so have I all right, good point. All right, so you're qualified. So you are a clinical psychologist. Okay, good for you. Did I ever ask what your background is, what your education is, what I mean, okay, you said that. I almost wanted to say, why did you feel it's necessary to tell me that? If you felt it's necessary, fine. Now we all know. You say you're qualified. Okay, that doesn't mean anything to me. I believe in gravity, but it's not proven scientifically. It's just the X in the equation. Yes, because gravity is a theory, and some people don't like to accept that it's just a theory. I can't see gravity, but I believe it's real. And there are people who can refute gravity. Oof. I know, I don't even want to get into that topic, but gravity is a very, very interesting concept. And remember, it cannot be scientifically proven, but it is seen as real because obviously, something you throw something up, it's going to fall down. Boom, gravity. But there are certain examples where gravity doesn't make sense. So even that can be a discussion. You equate being good can only be if you believe in gods. And I've never said that. I've never said that. But I can say this: believing in a god or gods can be good for your life. It really can. So I feel like that about God, which is okay, and that's fine, Mia. If your heuristic similar to perception is reality, then God would be real. I can respect that. Actions qualify. Yeah, I have the same question too. Jesus qualified for? Who cares? people need to people need to stop being so rude. It's not from God. I agree with Lifer. People are just rude in general. If God is good, then he makes us evil. No, I'm going to say we make ourselves evil because God did indeed give free will. While I may not agree with the free will as far as either choose me or die in the respect of the Old Testament, as of right now, we do have free will. And out of free will, time and time again, society chooses to make itself evil because it's easier to be evil than it is to be good. Gravity is a fact, is a fact. Jump off a roof. Yes, but gravity is a fact in certain instances. Of course, if you jump off a roof, that's a. But what if I jump off a roof where the building is underwater? Think about that one. When you get down to it, nothing can be proven 100%. Of course, gravity. Axel, remember, gravity is a theory, not a fact. So, yes, it can be proven, but there are cases where it can be disproven. Um, JQ, there is no way you're a psychologist. Okay, that's funny. You're selling yourself as a guru, so I'm telling you I'm qualified and you're not. Okay, how I'm selling myself as a guru. Okay, you know something? I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that as a compliment, although it's not a compliment. But I'm going to take that as a compliment. And you know why I'm going to take that? Because first of all, I'm not selling anything. Second of all, like I said, you've been in the show many times. I learn from you guys. I love, for me, and I think this is a lost art. For me, education has always been sitting down in a group and exchanging ideas, exchanging opinions. I actually loved college. Absolutely loved college. And the reason I loved college was it wasn't a professor doing a lecture and just talking and we just writing. No, the college I went to was a full immersion experience where we literally were in a room and all of us had the floor, so to speak, to come up with an answer to whatever it was that we were learning about. And that's how I thought for me was the best method for me to learn is actually learning through others, through actual talking. And I almost feel like society and people don't have that opportunity to do that. So when they finally see somebody who does something like that, either they're going to treat it with disrespect. They're going to not understand it. They're going to see it as an argument or a fight, however they do it. I don't see myself as a guru. If anything, like I said, from the beginning, I'm on day 92. When I started this 92 days ago, all I wanted to do was to have a visual diary of my journey, of what my thoughts are, what my readings are, what my conclusions are from what I read. I decided to share it out openly. So if people wanted to join me, that's great. I never thought people would actually join me. I thought this was going to be a journey on my own. The fact that it's not, and that every day I get to learn something new and talk to people and interact, for me is absolutely beautiful. So you can say I'm not qualified. I've already been said to that because I'm female, I'm not qualified. Because of this, I'm not qualified. Because I'm too fat, or I don't put my hair down, or any, all these things tell me that I'm not qualified. When all I'm doing, like I says, is just staying up here, and however the course of the conversation turns, that's where it ends up. You have almost zero communication skills. You're obviously. I hope you're talking about JQ or somebody else. I have no idea. Susie, you were supposed to ask a long time ago. I've been waiting for you to ask. You disappeared. So yes, throw your question in. There's free will, but I believe someone's evil because they're created by their own experience. I agree with you. God words has requirements to teach. It and okay, so you know something on that bag of bones. Once again, I am not teaching, and I will even defend you guys. God words has requirements to teach. I am not the teacher at all. I've never read the Bible, so I'm probably the worst teacher by that standard. I'm reading the Bible for the first time, so like I said, you guys are teaching me. I teach by reading and trying to understand and guess. And a lot of times, and this is a beautiful thing for people who've seen, is how I'll have one perspective, and then as we come up to more information, my perspective changes. And that's why I think this is a beautiful sign of growth. JQ keeps scrolling. You'll find some girls. I love to be able to spend a session and diagnose you. Oh, okay. So, so diagnose me. Let's see. ADHD. Uh, PTSD. What else? Seasonal affective disorder, but that's not really a psychological. Whatever. You can have a field day with me, JQ. But that's just it. You want to spend a session with me to diagnose me. Diagnose me in what way? Just so it makes you feel better? Like, it doesn't matter. I want to help you more with your questions. I can refer you to someone because I know something deep behind all your questions. You're trying to sell a version of you that doesn't exist. You need to accept my limitations. I'm not trying to sell anything. And you're saying a version of me that doesn't exist? All right, so now I almost want to do a session on you, but that's okay. I love the sound of that voice, an opinion or an unravel your thoughts in time with others. Sounds awesome. Thank you, Mia. I appreciate that. But you may all search or look up on Facebook, a brother who helped me a lot overcoming these. Yeah, put the name in of who that is on Facebook. I love the show. I learned a lot. Thank you, Issues. I appreciate that. You need to learn to critically think. You chose dogma. All right, so JQ, you've made your point. That's great. Whatever. I think the Bible is important ancient collection, but it has documented their later editions. Oh, RG. What's that other guy's name? You two are going to get along if he's still in here. I don't even know if he's still in here, but yeah, you two are going to get along. I'm laughing because I told him, I says, wait for either 21 or RG, and you guys will have a field day. All right, I'm sorry. And alterations which make it hard to treat every detail fully reliable. Oh, in fact, RG, you're probably going to like JQ too. I feel like people have two paths: logic, the volatile, or spirituality, safe and conservative. Um, Interesting, Summer. And I wonder what happens when you take both paths. Can both paths be done as well? I appreciate your raw enthusiasm. We'll learn and grow. That's inspiring. Thank you. CJQ is just turning into oh, whatever. God's words tells us to study to show ourselves approved, which we do here. Absolutely. I'm sure this will make sense, but at the end of the day, as long as one's wisdom matches. I used to be agnostic. I turned atheist, hated specifically Christians and Jesus, but I wanted to be found and feel God. Jesus, that was my path too. There was one time I was atheist, another time I considered myself agnostic. I specifically hated Christians and Jews. And I said Jews. Oh my god, Christians and Jews. Wow, was that a slip? No, I never hated the Christians and Jesus. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I felt that way too, and I also see how I was wrong. I mean, I will be the first one to say that I'm wrong, and I'm amazed as to how my positivity has changed, my outlook has changed. I mean, for me, I'm happy. I wanted to be found and I feel God. Their knowledge we can all live in harmony and pursue human thriving. Absolutely, Summer. I'm going to need therapy listening to this so-called therapist. Exactly. Hello, Walter. Welcome to the show. Search on Facebook, Marcus Heidcock. Okay. Let me write that down. Marcus Heidcock. And he's on Facebook. I always like listening to different perspectives. So, praise God. Okay. A mother prays for food for her starving child. He does nothing. Explain that. Your FBI agent just woke up. Are you American? See, we're getting such a mixture of tros. And I already prayed. Maybe I need to pray again to cleanse this thing. No worries. This is not a promotion. All free. Just message him. Kaden, you're Muslim. Welcome to the show. All right, guys. All right. Where's Sarah? Not Sarah. Um, who wanted to ask the question? Somebody kept saying, I have a question. Just ask the question, throw it in. I will answer it. I forgot who said that. I'm sorry. I gotta go back who said that. And it's somebody who's in the, I'm horrible with name, guys. Susie. I knew it was an S name. Susie. Susie, ask your question. Yes, thank you, Sarah. I'm waiting for Susie. It must be a really, really good question because she's like really patient. She's like, "Can I ask you?" I'm like, "Yeah, throw it in the chat." And the only thing I can say is, unless it's getting blocked, because I haven't seen any questions, Susie. So if you did a specific question, please say it again or mix the words up because there's something within the question it might not be liking if you already specified it. But I'll give her a minute on that. All right, so we are starting the book of Ruth. Now, the book of Ruth is only 4 chapters. So, Angel said this is one of her favorite books. So, I think this is going to be interesting. Oh, you okay, baby? Oh, sorry. My little kitty like jumped for a minute. All right, so I don't know where Susie went. Ruth is okay. So Sarah, you like Ruth too? All right, then let's get to it. If this is a good book, I like a good story. I think we need a little change of pace at what happened last chapter because yeah, I'm just gonna be like, okay, we need some. Oh, Jesus Christ's name is. Is that the question? Jesus Christ's name is Yeshua, yeah, or Yahweh, or I don't know. There's too many names. Um, is that what you're asking? What is Jesus Christ's name in Hebrew? I don't know the answer, but I know there's no such thing as a J back then. So let's look it up. What is Yeshua? Yeah, the name of Jesus is Yeshua, which is derived from Yehoshua. Yeshua means Yahweh is salvation and reflects his divine mission as the Messiah. Yeshua, yeah. Yeah, remember, Susie, Joshua, the J did not exist. So when we see all the J names of the Bible, at the time the Bible was written, those names didn't exist. So I'm just going to look that up real quick. When did the letter J come into existence? So came into play. So anything that's the letter J wasn't necessary. So that's why Jesus is Yeshua, because that's so it's just interesting when you read the Bible, just remember all these J names never existed. Okay. Are the immigrants still our brothers and sisters in your nationalist world? Okay, CJQ, that all right. I'm gonna give you I here is wait, you're a psychologist. I want you to reflect and think upon something very, very interesting. And here's what I want you to think upon. I'm gonna think upon why would I mute you? Reflect upon that. Think about that. Okay. They don't celebrate. They say don't celebrate Christmas. Well, because Christmas is based on a pagan holiday. If you go back to um, if you go back to Constantinople during that time, they needed to decide how are we going to create the masses to a uniform religion. You have half the society follows paganism, you have half the society follows Christianity and believes. So in 325 AD, they have this Council of Nicaea that says, okay, we need to analyze who is this Jesus Christ figure and how does he apply. And then as a political thing, you then have to analyze how can we get the masses to all agree upon certain things. Why don't you combine it and make it the same day? So that's why when they say don't celebrate Christmas, Christmas is based on Yule. Easter is based on uh, Isis. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you got to look at the history and a lot of religion. So you can take it however you want, but I say celebrate Christmas. Celebrate Christmas because you know something? We don't necessarily know the exact date of birth of time. It makes more sense in the springtime, which, and you could look at different things. If you look at the astrological star, if you look at the weather conditions, if you look at the fact that they were traveling and the inns were all filled, inns would not be filled during the winter time. That's actually the slow period. So the fact that they couldn't find a place, a baby making a trek through the winter time is not necessarily going to happen. They would be dying. So it probably made sense that Jesus was born in the springtime. Those are the facts. That's why it's an interesting thing. So for people who say don't celebrate Christmas, is because they say that they tie it into the pagan holidays. Me personally, I say, you know something? What is Christmas all about? It's a celebration of Jesus' birth. We don't know when the exact day is. So, you know something? Society created a day. So, there's a day as a remembrance. And just look at the spirit of Christmas. It's the giving nature, it's the family nature, it's the togetherness. If you could take the good qualities of Christmas, then what's wrong with celebrating Christmas? Entertaining your messages or comments is still helping. Yeah, I had to delete him. I had enough of him. I'm sorry. Because I think no one is listening to you there. Good afternoon, Paige. Welcome. Yes. Oh. Okay. No, Susie, that's fine. I mean, these questions, first of all, never be afraid to ask questions. And if you have a question, just throw it in the chat. It's better off just throw it in the chat as opposed to saying, can I ask you a question? Please throw it in, even if you think it's an inappropriate question, because we can analyze it and look at it. And maybe somebody has a different perspective other than me. And I hope I didn't offend you in any way. But like I said, it's very, very interesting how as a whole, a lot of times people do not know the history of their own religion that they are following. And I'm not saying that that's a good or bad thing. I mean, for me, it's slightly a bad thing, but knowing the bigger picture from my perspective should strengthen your faith, not push you away. And it almost makes me feel if knowing the bigger picture pushes you away from your belief system, then that's a good time to sit and reflect and analyze what is it that you do actually believe in. Celine, what is this? It's a show. The Bible is not for everyone. Only the elect Romans 9, Christ doesn't die for everyone. I do. And Jesus says, yes. First Peter, for God so loved the world that whoever believes. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't offend you. Research God loving the world. It cannot mean everyone. That specific chapter for them, but as a, okay, so you guys, you're doing Bible verses, those are future ones. If you want to fight amongst yourselves, go for it. I'm going to start Ruth. This is a good place to start, Ruth. I want to know what happens because I'm excited. So let's see. So if you guys want to fight, if it's anything that's important, I'll address it. If it's just going back and forth between verses that I'm not even up to, that's on you. You guys could just ignore each other. I came in. It looks like Rudy already fired off a whole checklist of questions. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, that's what it is, Rudy. Yeah, that's what I said. RG, you both would get along really well. And I hope you know, RG, I say this out of love. When I point you out, I'm not doing it out of like it's out of love. I'm like, you guys will get along great. Just hang in there, have fun. All right. Book of Ruth. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and two sons. And the name of the man was Amalek, and the name of his wife was Naomi, and the name of his two sons, Mahlon, Chilon. Ephrates of Bethlehem, Judah, and they came into the country of Moab and continued there. Um, okay. And they took them the wives of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orphan, and the name of the other was Ruth, and they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilon died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her two sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughter in law that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Interesting. Okay. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her two daughters in law with her. And they went on their way to return to the land of Judah. So I just want to stop for a second. Okay, so it is getting known. So we are getting the word of mouth thing that there is the Lord. So that was one of the things that I mentioned in regards to the Lord is why isn't he necessarily spreading out his message? Instead, he's choosing to kill, murder, and wipe away entire cities. But now we're starting to see, okay, yes, word of mouth is getting out there. She heard about the story of the bread. So a miracle. So you know something, let's go there. Let's go find this Lord. If he could do that for them, can he do that for us too? All right, let's see. And Naomi said unto her two daughters in law, excuse me, go return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye had dealt with the dead with me. The Lord grant you that he may find rest, each of you, in the house of the husband. Then she kissed them and lifted their voice and wept. All right, so I'm assuming she is following the Lord that we know him, that she's not following another Lord God. Or am I mistaken? So, in other words, is she saying the Lord may find you rest? Is she referring to the Lord of the children of Israel? Or is she part of whatever God they are worshiping, whatever God they're worshiping at the time? So that's a question I have, but let's go on. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should say I have a husband, also tonight, and should also bear sons. Okay, so she's up there in age. So she's basically feels like a failure. She's like, just, I can't have any children no more. I'm too old. Okay. Would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay with them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieved me so much for your sakes at the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. And they live, okay, so the hand of the Lord. So, yeah, so from her perspective, because she's barren and cannot have any children, the Lord is no longer with her. So I guess she's sending her daughters, like, why should I come along with you guys? Because the Lord is no longer with me. I can't bear children. They lifted up their voice and wept again. An orphan kissed the mother in law, but Ruth clave unto her, and said, behold, thy sister in law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister in law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or return from following thee. For whither thou goes, I will go. Where thou lodges, I will lodge. For people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. Okay, so now she's giving up her religion. She is going to go wherever her daughters go and worship their gods. Now, like I said, I'm getting a little confused right now. Which God are they talking about? Because it's interesting. It says, where it says here, behold, thy sister in law is gone back onto her people and onto her gods. So that's lowercase g. So it looks like the sister in law is not following the Lord. Do you like reading fiction or nonfiction? I like reading everything and anything, but I read more nonfiction because I like learning things. And as far as fiction, I like reading like action and fantasy and adventure and stuff like that. But I read a lot, um, so that's where I want to know because I'm just a little confused right now as to who Ruth is worshiping at this time. Is Ruth following the Lord from the children of Israel? Because the sister has already went to other gods. So it sounds like it's other gods. I'm wondering now if we're following the Lord. But let's see where it says. Okay, Grove, why is this question and answer time about me? Where are you? I'm sitting right here opening. It's all made up. Who cares? We're getting trolls. All right, you guys sit back, listen to Ruth. Let's talk about Ruth. All right, so I will go where thou lodges, I will lodge, and thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more so, if aught but death part me and thee. Okay, so I'm going to assume, being that it's capital Lord, that she is worshiping the Lord that we know as of the children of Israel. I just want to make sure because she keeps referencing back and forth between God's lowercase g and Lord uppercase L. So I think it's just dividing that it shows even within her own family, they're believing in different belief systems. And now because she is barren, she's giving up and basically saying, okay, daughters, wherever you lead, I will follow you. Wherever you go, I'm there. Whatever the Lord. So it sounds like she's just giving it up to choice, to chance, I mean. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking to her. So the two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they came to Bethlehem, all the city was moved by them. And they said, is this Naomi? And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty had dealt very bitterly with me. Interesting. Okay. So she already feels like she's cursed because she can't have children. Um if it's all made up, why are you listening? The law of God is written on your heart, you know the truth. Usually capital L is Christ, and other lords or lords they had are others. Okay, well the only thing is we didn't even get up to Christ yet. So technically we don't know. But okay. So now she wants to be called Mara instead of Naomi. Okay. The Almighty had dealt very bitterly with me, and I went out full, and the Lord had brought me home again empty. when they call me Naomi, seeing the Lord had testified against me, and the Almighty had afflicted me. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabites, her daughter in law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. So, okay, so move up, sorry. I think Ruth is Moabite, talking on the God of Israel. Moab was pagan. Okay, that's what I'm trying to think, Sarah, because it sounds like there is a disconnect with the gods. So if she was in Moab, then she would be pagan. So when she's referring to the Lord, it might be Moab, or she might be referring to the God. Because here's another thing. Let me just read this real quick. Number 21. She says, "Why then call me Naomi, seeing that the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me?" So she's even separating those two. So one of them testified against her, the other one afflicted her. So you see how there's like a jump back and forth, and she's saying that, "Behold, thy sister in law has gone back to her people and onto her gods, little g." So she's in the sense talking to her different like talking about her different relatives, and it sounds like they're all following a different god, which I find interesting. Hold on one, guys. I'm sorry, I gotta just mute because I keep getting interrupted. There we go. That's what it sounds like. So I'm going to assume, because it also sounds like where she says, "The Almighty had dealt very bitterly with me." So she feels like she is cursed, being that she can't have a baby. And I'm wondering if Almighty is her God, not the Lord of the children of Israel. Because but then she says, "The Lord had brought me home empty again." So I want to know, where is her disdain aiming to? Is it aiming to her God in Moab, or is it aiming to the Lord of the children of Israel? Because she's even saying that she heard about the Lord giving bread, so she wants to go there. So it sounds like whatever her belief system is, she's leaving her belief system to go follow the Lord of the children of Israel, because she's feeling that. Okay, so Naomi worships the one true God. Okay, so if she worships the one true God, right now she's angry with God because he did not he testified against her, and he did not make her pregnant. Is that what I'm getting at? Or, like I said, or is she angry with the God she's serving and heard about the Lord who made bread, and that's why she's on this journey to seek him out? You see where the slight difference is? Okay, so Ruth is coming from the pagan background. So Naomi is with the Lord, Ruth is from the pagan. So that's how they're going to meet? Okay. That's why I'm getting a little confused which God that they're talking about, because obviously they're talking about different gods. But I'm just losing the context of who's with who. So Ruth is from pagan, Naomi is to the Lord, but it's Naomi who is barren, right? Yeah. Or did I get it confused as to who went? Stop. Okay. Let me keep going. Yes. Okay. So I do got it right. Thank you. I didn't mean to make it difficult, but like I said, they were going back and forth, and I want to make sure. Okay, so Naomi had a kinsman of her husband, a mighty man of wealth, and the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth, sorry, and Ruth the Moabites said unto Naomi, "Let me now go in the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace." And she said unto her, "Go, my daughter." And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and had her hap was to light on part of the field belonging to Boaz, and who was the kindred of Elimelech. Okay, what is a hap? I have no idea what a hap is. HAP. What is a hap? Okay, what is a hap? Let's see. Okay, so hap. Oh, happening. It refers to chance or luck, often highlighting the unpredictability of life while emphasizing Okay, so it was her luck. Okay, that's interesting. I thought it was an item. I'm like, what is a hap? All right, so when she says her hap was to light on a part, so her luck. It's just her luck that he happens to be there. The point is, God is in control of who has babies or who doesn't. Okay, good point. She went in, came and gleaned in the field of the reapers, and her hap was light on the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was the kindred of Amalek. And behold, Boaz came to Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, The Lord be with you. And they answered him, The Lord bless thee. And Boaz unto his servant was on the set over the reapers. Whose damsel is this? Okay, so he sees the woman there. And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is a Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among. Hold on, guys. You gotta stop it, my little baby. Um, Let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said to Boaz unto Ruth, Hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Sorry, guys, I got a tickle in my throat. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go after them. Have I not charged the young man that they shall not touch thee? And when thou artest, go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young man have drawn. So basically, he's saying like you shouldn't be here tempting the people. Like the young men have already been told not to touch thee. And Boaz answered, and oh wait, then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground, and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thy eyes, that thou should take knowledge of me, seeing that I am a stranger? Boaz answered and said unto her, It had fully been shown to me all that thou hast done unto thy mother in law since the death of thy husband, and how thou left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not herefore. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward will be given to thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. Okay, so basically that's what it is. She's changing her perspective and now wants to follow the Lord. She's going from her land because he's basically saying, he's like, a full reward will be given of thee, the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. So she's come to this area now to trust in the Lord. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for thou hast comforted me, and for thou hast spoken friendly unto thy handmaiden, though I be not like one of those handmaidens. And Boaz said unto her at mealtime, Come thou hither and eat of bread. Dip thy morsel in thy vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and it sufficed and left. Why do I feel like there's more symbolism to this that I'm not understanding? So I almost want to say this is a farming what's the word? Flirting. It's like the farmland version of flirting. So he reached her parched corn, and she did eat it, and it's fine. You know what I mean? It just sounds like they're in the fields and they're having this little flirtation back and forth, but I'm not understanding the symbolism because I really don't understand what they're trying to say. But it's obviously flirting. She took it up and went into the city, and her mother in law saw that she had gleaned. And she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after what was sufficed. All right, I have to look something up. What is gleaned in the Bible? I know that sounds silly, but I just. Okay, so gleaning is a practice of collecting leftover produce from fields, vines, orchid, which was allowed to remain after the initial harvest. This practice was part of the conventional laws giving, ensuring that okay, so that's what it was. So that was one of the rules of Moses, is when you harvest things, you need to leave things for the poor so they could come and gather them up rather than tossing them out or using them. So when she's gleaning, what she's actually doing, yes, she's picking up the grain left behind. So she's trying to feed herself because she doesn't have a man, she doesn't have a family, she's in this city, so she needs to. So that's what it means by cleaned. Okay, I wanted to make sure that I'm understanding the symbolism behind this. Okay, but I still feel like there's flirtation going on. Okay, so she took it up, went to the city, and her mother in law saw that she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her she had reserved after she sufficed. And her mother in law said unto her, Where hast thou gleaned today? And where wrought thou? Blessed is he take knowledge of thee, as she showed her mother in law with whom she wrought, and said, The man's name with whom I wrought to this day is Boaz. Okay, so her mother wants to know, Wow, you got all this stuff. Where did you get this from? And she's like, From Boaz. Naomi said unto her daughter in law, Blessed of he of the Lord, who had not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, The man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinmen. And Ruth the Moabite said, He said unto me also, Thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter in law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. She kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean until the end of the barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Okay, so basically he's protecting her. He's saying, he's like, okay, you can glean here. I will hold off my men that they will not touch you, nor the other maidens, and you can glean here for as long as the harvest, which is great because that is providing food for her and Ruth. All right, so that makes sense. All right, so chapter 3. Then Naomi, her mother in law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, whose maidens thou wast. Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself thereof, and anoint thee, and put on thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known until he is done eating and drinking. Okay, is she trying to seduce him? Is she saying like put on the clothes and go? I think this is going to be some sort of seduction. Let's see. I could be wrong. And it shall be when he lieth down that thou shalt mark the place of where he lie down, and thou shalt go in, uncover his feet, lay down thee, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. Oh yeah, this is tempting. Is this not tempting? Okay, let me keep going. And he said unto her, All thou saidst unto me, I will do. And she went down onto the floor and did according to all her mother-in-law bade her. When Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of the corn. She came softly and uncovered his feet and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman laid at his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, insomuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all thou requirest, for all the city of my people had known thou art a virtuous woman. And thou, it is true, I am thy kinsman, howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then I will do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord had liveth. lie down until morning. Okay, so now he's giving her an interesting thing. He's trying to say there's going to be someone else that's closer than me. Go out and seduce them, so to speak. But if they don't do their part, then I'll do my part, which is kind of interesting. I'm sorry. And she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another. So they didn't do anything. She just stayed there. So remember, knowing means doing the deed. So they didn't do the deed yet. She rose up before one could know another. And he said, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. And he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came to her mother in law, she said, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all the man had done to her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley he gave me, for he said to me, go not empty unto thy mother in law. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. Okay, I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to keep reading. But this is getting interesting. Okay, here we go. Okay. Then went Boaz at the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake unto whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside and sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men, the elders of the city, and said, sit here. And they sat down. He said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that come again out of this country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's. But I thought to advertise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. For there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I'm after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, what day buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, that thou must buy it also of Ruth of the Moabites, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance? And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem it thou right for myself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the matter in the former Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing to confirm all things. A man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Okay, so this has to do with because she because she lost her husband, she cannot remarry somebody according to their law, if I'm not mistaken. Because wasn't it forbidden that they weren't allowed to marry women from Moab, and they weren't? And I think that's where the story's coming to be significance. So he's even saying that I cannot buy this land in the name because it's going to be giving up my own inheritance. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Amalek's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's, of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, I have purchased to be my wife, to raise up in the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead cannot be cut off from among his brethren from the gate of this place. Ye are all witnesses this day. Okay, so he's breaking the rules that was established. So that makes sense. Because originally that family line was cut off from the children of Israel. So by marrying her, he's reigniting that family name that was originally cut off. Okay, so that now the significance is making sense. And all the people were at the gate, and the elders, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that come into thy house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and to do to worthily in Ephraim, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went into her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which had not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter in law, which loved thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, had borne him a child. And Naomi took the child, laid it in her bosom, and she became a nurse to it. And the woman, her neighbors, gave it to the name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi, and they call his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generation of Pharez. Pharez beget Haran, Haran beget Ram, Ram beget Amadon, Amadon beget Nashon, Nashon beget Shalom, Shalom beget Boaz, and Boaz beget Obed. And Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David. Okay, that is the end. So I have no idea what you wrote, but that's okay. So this was a very, very, very short book. I mean, Ruth, and basically it's just the story of Ruth. So Naomi. Okay, wait. I just want to see something because I was getting confused like back and forth. All right, so this became, and guess who comes from the house of David? Yeah, because it says Jesse beget David. So Samuel, is that what it is? Because the next book is Samuel. That's what I'm going to guess. But what I was getting at is okay. So if I'm understanding this right, because I'm getting names confused, maybe Naomi is the mother. She was the one that husband's dead. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's what it is. Jesus comes from that lineage. Oh, okay. Because I'm like in the first book of Samuel. So like we just spoke of David, so now it's okay. So from the generation of David. So okay, so that's what makes sense because it was a blessing that the Lord did upon Ruth. I just want to make sure I'm getting something correct because I know I just read it, but I'm getting confused with the names. So they literally did a handmaiden thing because Naomi couldn't have children. So he went to bed with Ruth instead, and the Lord blessed them, which then the child became Naomi's. Is that correct, or am I totally wrong? Because Boaz married Naomi, correct? Or did Boaz marry Ruth? Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, I have purchased to be okay. So Boaz is marrying Ruth. Boaz is okay. I get it. Boaz is marrying Ruth. He had sex with Ruth. The Lord intervened. Okay, so Naomi, who couldn't have children, she just simply became like the nursemaid. Okay, now I get it. I was getting confused because I thought he was getting together with Naomi. Naomi is the mother-in-law. Boaz got with Ruth. The Lord blessed Ruth. That's who had the son. Okay, that makes sense. So that is where Ruth is coming into the picture. Okay, it was a little confusing at first. Be right back. Gotta feed my father-in-law. I'm probably issues. I'm probably going to be ending it here anyway. Okay, so he married Ruth. All right, now I got it. So Boaz married Ruth. Naomi was the mother-in-law with. So now they now have a child. Ruth and Boaz has a child. It was a blessed child because the Lord gave her conception and she bore a son. That son lineage begets all the way to David, which David is going to go all the way to Jesus. So it started with a blessing that was passed on all the way to Jesus. So now the reason I'm going to stop here is because we're starting a new chapter, Samuel. And I think Samuel will be a new place to start tomorrow. Plus, I know I'm ending a little early. I'm still not feeling so well. So I think today I'm going to relax because I even feel it that I'm getting a little, I'm not feeling so well. So 93 is going to be the episode tomorrow. We're going to start the first book of Samuel. Um, all right. It says it's all about redemption. Ruth was a Moabite and ended up being part of the lineage of Jesus. Okay, so that's interesting because yeah, that's where I was getting at because when I was reading it, I'm like, wait a minute, they're talking about different gods. So Naomi originally was with the Lord. Ruth, on the other hand, was a Moabite following other gods. But because they were going on this journey together, they were following the Lord of Israel because they heard about how the Lord visited people giving them bread. So because they allowed the gleaning process, because the Lord allowed gleaning, which makes sense. That's why she was gleaning, because maybe that was something that other rulers or kings or whatever never allowed was cleaning because they would be selfish. But because the Lord said among his people, allow gleaning, that's what allowed Ruth to do the gleaning in the fields where she met Moab. And that was more than enough money to, not Moab, I'm sorry, Boaz. That was more than enough food to, and then when Boaz gave her the gift of the harvest, she's saying, go thank this man by lying with him, take the shoes off. And he's saying basically, well, go find another kinsman. If you don't find another kinsman, then come back to me. Well, she did. He ends up taking her as a wife, takes her as a wife, and then the Lord blesses them with a child. I think I got that story right. I think I did. I got a little confused a little bit, but you're right. It's a story about redemption because even though she was from another belief system, yes, okay, yes, even though she's from another belief system, she was able to convert. And it's very, very interesting. Like I said, see how there's a change now all of a sudden? Now it's like the Lord is starting to open up with the idea of conversion as opposed to the idea of killing. There seems to be the change. And I know that's something that probably seems insignificant, but for the first time, and it started with, like I said, it started with Judges 10:14 and then 11:31, where it's like, wait a minute, the Lord for the first time is starting to get to that loving phase, the openness phase, the idea that people can change. Instead of immediately punishing, he's now forgiving. He's now, because this woman, she was a Moabite. She should have never been forgiven. But yet here she is being with a child. I don't think he changed. I think the others were destroyed, were so barbaric beyond their words. Which that might be the case. I mean, like I said, it's two different perspectives to look at it. But it, like I said, for me, it's starting to see that he, for me, he's becoming closer to Jesus now, where it's like people can be, but probably that's what it is because we already said, and this ties back to the story I was saying about me with my mafia game. We had to deal with somebody because there was no redemption for this person. We had to outright destroy and kill them, and I understand why that anger. I tried to be the peacemaker in my stupid little mafia game. You can't be a peacemaker with somebody who just will not follow the rules, who will not change their ways, who will not do something different. So instead, we had to choose violence in order to make our point. And I think that's what happened with this. And that's where a lot of people probably are missing the understanding. They're only seeing it as a murderous rampage rather than seeing it as you were forced to you were forced to resort to violence. You forgot about the gay revelation. Oh, I still remember it. I still remember that. Like, you know what I mean? Hey, it's still a revelation because you know something? Just to give you an update with the game, we finally got rid of that person and he ended up moving out of our city. And now the city is at such peace. Like a complete burden has lifted because the guy left the city. And because he's gone and ostracized and he can't come back to the city, we're all happy now. And it's almost like part of us are like, well, wait a minute. Things are now too quiet, too calm, but we're back at a peaceful growth phase that we can build again as opposed to constantly destroying. So we're in that happy phase. But yeah, I mean, I find it interesting because he needed to resort to violence because things were just too far gone. Do you know people are dying of hunger in Africa? Okay. Do you know there are people of dying of hunger in the United States too? Your point? There's people dying of hunger everywhere. Um, Not that I don't care, but I almost want to say, why even ask that question? Um, I almost want to say, and I mean, you know, something this will probably get me in trouble. Not that I don't care about the people in the rest of the world, but I would really say that as a whole, we need to start with the people who are closest to us and then work our way out. It shouldn't be the other way around. It shouldn't be help the furthest people away from us and ignore the people that are within us because you, Melanie, could solve. I wish I could. If I could snap my fingers and solve world hunger, I absolutely will. But you know something? I have wishful thinking and I have joy in my heart. But yeah, obviously, from that perspective, I can solve world hunger. I can't. But I would really believe that us as a community, we should start off helping the people within our and slowly it will build outward. That's how I that's how you solve world hunger. That really is a little bit at a time and spreading that. So while it may seem like I don't care about Africa, um, honestly, I would say this: let Africa, which is a continent, I almost want to say why we are referring to a continent, but let each country start with their own first, and then slowly building and building and building. And as we build outward, maybe building outward, we can unify everybody where there never will be world hunger. Yeah. So tax all the churches would end world hunger. Absolutely, it would not. It absolutely would not. But if you think that would work, yeah, that would be great. All right, so I am going to finish it off here. It's ironic. It's 12 o'clock now, which was the same time I ended it yesterday. Not that I don't want to do it, but like I said, I'm, I'm feeling it these past couple of days, and I'm hoping that I could break the cycle because like my joints are hurting me. I'm in pain. It's it's only 10 o'clock in California. Well, over here it's 12. So plus I've got things to do like laundry and stuff like that. But oh, thank you so much, Mia. I appreciate that. But I will be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be starting the first book of Samuel. So that's going to be a good thing. I hope so too, Sarah. It's weird. Oh, thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. It's weird because, like, even yesterday, I ended up at one point, my sugar crashed really, really bad yesterday. And then after that happened, I mean, I replenished myself, I ate. But after that happened, the whole day it was like tremors and stuff like that. And then I ended up getting a flare up. And even my body right now is still feeling it. Which, like I said, I'm not trying to have anybody feel sorry for me, but I got to take it a little easy. And I think today resting will be a good idea. So tomorrow, like I said, we're gonna start the first book of Samuel, and I'm gonna see what happens. But it's nice to know now that I understand that the lineage of David is going to follow the lineage of Christ. So I'll keep that in mind as we go through the different generations until we get there. Still got a long way to go before I even get to um, before I even get to the New Testament. But we're working on it. We do a couple of we're starting to fly through the books now, but this was a short book. So we're going to be doing Samuel, and it'll be 93 episodes. So for that, everyone, I want to thank everybody for being here, and even the people if it was your first time here. Like I said, I do this every day. I open the floor to whoever wants to ask a question, whatever the topic is. I have a general topic. Today happened to be about touch. And just to circle back with touch, I really believe that our society has become so digitized and so separate that if we learn once again the power of touch, if we learn once again how to reconnect and how to be together, maybe that'll be one of the things to start ending all the world's problems that we have. So I almost want to say, is this bad to say you want to end world hunger? Start touching people. And that can mean not even physical, touch people in the heart, touch people in the mind, touch people together where you want to change, you want to make a difference, and you want to take the harder path. There I go. You know, I always tie it all together, Sarah. I try to. But everyone, have a great day. Take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Keep on smiling, keep having faith, keep believing, and have a good one. Take care, guys. And you too, guys, take care. Have a good one.